to another cup final. What can we expect come Sunday?
Good afternoon to everyone. It's a very tough assignment. If there's any game I don't like in football, it's back-to-back matches. I don't like them because they always tend to give indifferent results. And we are playing against a very good team. I said it even before. They may not have done well in the last 2 matches in the province, but they are still a very formidable team that has got a lot of good things that they do. In my opinion, probably ranked 3 or 4 amongst one of the well-coached teams in the league. They may have shortcomings here and there, but I rate them very highly. And I'm expecting a completely different game from the game we played last week. And I'm hoping that we are able to stay focused and think about this one instead of thinking about the one that has gone past, because that might hurt us. It's very important that we respect the game and we understand that we probably were fortunate, though I believe we created a lot of chances in that game. But the reality is that at 74 minutes, we were only leading 1-0. And we only got the last 3 goals in those last 15 minutes. And anything could have happened in the process. So we are going to this match with a lot of respect, with a lot of humility, and also with an understanding that we must not play the occasion, but we must play the match. And not think, like Sabashlula last week, because it will not work like that. Each match stands on its own, and history in football does not mean anything.
Thank you, Coach. We'll take the first question from the floor. Ruben Duke.
Coach, Arrows have never lost to Marumo Gallants. How does it give you an advantage? You just spoke about it, you beat them 4-0, and you don't like to play them back-to-back. But having that history too, you've never lost to them ever before. How does it help?
And probably they were not coached by the same coach before. And I was also not the coach of Golden Arrows in some of those matches. So the reality is that, like I just said, history in football is not the most important. What is more important is how you are prepared for the match that you are playing, because the history books are not inside the pitch when you play a football match. Football match is about what happens on that particular day, in that minute, in that 90 minutes, in that 120 minutes, in those penalties if it has to go to that, without any consideration of what might have happened in the past, because in the past, Golden Arrows has never played a semi-final match with Marumo. Any other match they may have played was never a semi-final match, and that's a different story. And the match temperament, the frustrations of playing such a critical match, the difference in tactics is what will determine the outcome of the game on Sunday, not what happened in the past. Which is why I have a lot of respect for this game, because it's the first game I'll be playing against Marumo in the semi-final as a Golden Arrows coach. I played against Marumo last season as a Sundowns coach and I beat them, but as a Arrows coach, I'm playing them this time around in the semi-final, and I don't know what will happen. And I have a lot of respect for that.
Thank you, Coach. Let's move on to Myron.
Coach, it's Myron here for Super Sport Blitz. Twofold, Coach. What a great occasion for KwaZulu-Natal football to host these matches this weekend, but also to have 2 KZN clubs. We've seen all 4 clubs start really well in the league and then progress through in this cup. We've also seen a number of players that have come from this province go on to play for bigger clubs, do well for us here and play for Bafana. Can you talk about, where football is in the province? And then secondly, from a cup point of view, you've been involved in so many cups, back here when you were at Arrows, during your time at Sundowns, you're probably the South African coach who's been involved in more cup semi-finals and finals than anyone else in the league. What is it about cup football that excites you?
Do or die. No, man, I think cup competitions generate a different mindset, and the match temperament is tested there, because when you do something where every mistake can take you out, you are playing with a completely different stress level in decisions that you take. It's very important that if you blunder, you might not get a second chance. And that is the only difference between a cup match and a league match. I may have lost yesterday in a league match, but I can still recover those points, because maybe in my budget I did not budget for those that I lost. I budgeted for others that I believe I should be able to win. So, but if I happen to win a game of yesterday, for instance, I know I've achieved 3 away draws, because it's a team that it's mostly unlikely for you to expect a win. But if you win it, at least I've got 3 away draws. But in a cup match, it's a different story. The other match does not work for another. So it's very important that you focus on what you are dealing with at that point in time. And it's a very nice experience to know that 2 KZN teams are in the semi-final. But I think it's even better if 2 KZN teams are playing the final. What don't you think?
All right, moving on to the next question. Where's the mic? Okay, Kulego and then Smiso. I've noted you, Tracy.
So one of the questions. Yeah. So I'm going to follow up question Marumo. But mina ngibuza in terms of abadlali. Kunale pressure khona la KZN yokuthi iqembu lase KZN alisayazi indondo iminyaka. Mhlambe ukuthola ukuthi mhlambe ukukhuluma nabadlali yiphi into oyikhulumayo njengamanje ukuqeda leli shobolo lokuthi amaqembu ase KZN ngisho wenza kahle kanjani. Kunaleyo nto leyo ukuthi awafinyeleli kwi-finishing line compared to other provinces amaqembu lawo ekuthiwa mancane ama-profits. Nokuthi mhlambe kule stage esikusona njenge-KZN football, mhlambe ikuphi ekufanele sikwenze ukumaintaina le success noma le happiness ekhona amaqembu aKwaZulu-Natal, le progress esibonana kubadlali abaqhamuka ku-development.
Ngiyawuzwa umbuzo wakho, kodwa nguhlobo nje lomqeqeshi olungathanda ukukhuluma ngeindondo zingakafiki. Ngihlezi ngiphusha into eyodwa kuma-players ukuthi kufanele sifocus at what we are doing at that point in time. Training session, kimina, all important is to get your wins in the objectives that ey'nhlosweni besinazo the training session. It's a friendly match. I want nginama-goals engiwasethile for ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi sibone ukuthi siyayi-achieve nale nto esifuna ukuyi-achieve kuleyo friendly match. And every match siyidlala sinomqondo wokuthi nazi izinto esifuna ukuzibona ukuthi siyenzeka nayo. And I try to streamline these things. Maybe it's bay 3 in every match. Counter pressure. I just want to see the involvement of the 8s in the half spaces. I want to see balls played between the fullbacks and the centre back. Maybe I want to see balls being played in between the centre backs. And when I achieve those small little goals that I've set for the team, I know the next match my focus will be on something else. Because I want ngizama ukuthi ngaso sonke isikhathi abadlali bami ngibafundise ukuba nama-focal points. Bangafuni ukwenza into eningi ngesikhathi esisodwa ngoba abaningi babo phela ababahlanga la esikoleni. So uma ufaka into eyiningi bengaphumi ngokodwa. Kanti uma ngaba uhamba nabo step by step, esikhathini esiningi uyakwazi ukugcina uthola izinto eyiningi nezinhle ebadlalini abebekade bengathenjwa umuntu, because bayazi ukuthi kufanele babhekane no-1 no-2 no-3. And kulo 1 no-2 no-3 in kuma-roles wabo, mabe achieve those small milestones, bayakwazi ukubona ukuthi angathi iyakhula lento yami baqale bafuna okunye mhlawumbe i-match ne-match. So i-province yethu njengamanje ngibona ngazuthi is on the right track, because i-province yethu over the years has been a dumping site. You know, all the old players that are no longer useful somewhere, they become useful here. Manje, i-province yethu is beginning to produce its own younger, hungry, energetic, willing players. And leyo into uyayibona kwi-Richards Bay, uyayibona kumaZulu, uyayibona kwi-Durban City, and ngicabanga ukuthi kuzosisiza nokuthi sizakhele okwethu esicabanga ukuthi ngasisebenzela. And mangibuka indlela wonke namaqembu engiwabalayo adlala ngayo, yenza kube nethemba lokuthi mhlawumbe sizokwazi ukuthi sike sibe nabadlali ku-national team, because enye esizathu esenza ukuthi singabi nabadlali ku-national team ingoba sidlala ngabadlali abadala asebadlala mhlawumbe ku-national team baphelelwa isikhathi. Kodwa mangaba sinabadlali abancane abanohlonze, sizibeke emathubeni ukuthi nathi siyi-province sibe represented within the national teams. Angikhumbula ukuthi kwakuyinini iqembu elifana neGolden Arrows line-player kwi-national team, and manje mangibona kukhona uBoyzini kwi-under 17 doing well for the national team, ngithi what can we get kwi-under 23, and kunama-players amaningi engiwabonayo both kwi-Richards Bay, amaZulu, i-Arrows, i-Durban City abaqualifyayo ukudlala kwi-under 23 ne-under 20. Then you go for the senior national team. Mangibuka abadlali balamaqembu abaningi abancane, uyabona ukuthi inhlanhla yokuthi singaba represented within the national teams. Then we can start to dream, because as a small team kufanele ube nezinto ezima-target points. One, players in the national teams, the market value of your players improves. Two, you must be able to sell some players in order to sustain the business. Three, you must look to try and win trophies if you've got such quality that can play for the national teams. Then singaqala ke manje sibe nama-dreams abonakalayo, sibona ngathi khona into esizoyenza in the next year or 2 or 3 after that, because these boys are younger. Masingezubafaka under pressure abaqeqeshi, singezufaka under pressure iy'ngane, ngicabanga ukuthi singakwazi ukuwa-achieve konke lama goals.
Smiso.
Good afternoon, Coach. I'm good. Coach, progress here Golden Arrows this season has coincided with both on and off the pitch. We see what's happening with the club in terms of social media and everything that's going on there, and probably there's a lot of players in your squad that are getting attention that they're not used to, and more especially on social media, and we know most players are on social media. Have you felt a need to be able to control the type of attention that they're getting, which would, in a sense, coincide with the regular demands that you have, and more especially going into a cup semi-final, the first one in a very long time for the club?
I must say it's a good thing what is happening with the club, to catch the interest of a lot of people within the social media space. I'm not in that space, but I can hear and see and feel. But at the same time, there is potential for negative things to pitch within that space. But I always try not to focus on what I can't control, and focus on what I can control, because whoever is in another space must also look to control what can be controlled there. But I try to advise my players ngento incane ngibona ukuthi singagcina ziwadalela ama-problems, because kukhona izinto engike ngizibone okanye ngizitshela ukuthi hey, this is what they were saying. I'll give you an example. When players start to talk about the finals, when you have not played the semi-final, then it's a problem for me, because it means now you are getting ahead of yourself, and now you will be disappointed if you don't arrive there. But rather, if you can focus on giving everything to make sure that you are able to arrive to the final, then you will have an opportunity to talk about the final when you are in the final. And because that's the biggest mistake you can make. And the worst part is the successes the smaller successes that they have had of winning a league match against Marumo, the manner they won it, because now, to some of them, because they've never tasted this thing. Even winning back-to-back matches is something that most of them are not accustomed to. So it's very important now to try and clamp down on the big hits that you are beginning to see, so that they focus at the job at hand, which is something we never really suffered with before, because when you are struggling, you appreciate every result. But when you start to think you are stable, you start to think, man, we can go through that game. And that's my biggest worry. And that's why I'm saying the game against Marumo, to me, requires a little bit more in preparation of the mind, tactics, and the technical execution, because if they are over-anxious or overconfident, they are most likely to make the kind of mistakes that you saw yesterday. Yesterday, we lost far too many balls. And that was not like us. And most of the players that did that, the players that have been doing well all along, is it possible that maybe they got ahead of themselves? They started to think about the match that they are not playing, and instead of focusing on the one that was in front of them. So those are small little things that induce a little bit more pressure now on the team, because they have to live up to what they are saying in the social media, or what people are saying about them in the social media. And most of them are young and they've never experienced this, and there's a bit of issues in that space. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, we're moving on to the embargoed session.